This is the Schleg Daddy from the Wedge Busters, and now that I've given you my divisional winners for the 2011 NFL season, I'm going to give you my best guesstimate as to how I think the playoffs are going to go down. On the AFC side, I will make one change, and I guess I'm entitled to do it because the season hasn't officially started, especially in light of the fact that Peyton Manning is going to miss a significant amount of time in 2011. I will now pick the Texans to win the AFC South. With that said, I had the division winners being the Patriots in the East, the Steelers in the North, the Texans in the South, and the Oakland Raiders in the West. My two wild card teams are the New York Jets and the last wild card team being the Baltimore Ravens. For my divisional winners in the NFC, I had the New York Giants out of the East. I had the Green Bay Packers in the North. I had the Atlanta Falcons in the South and the St. Louis Rams in the NFC West. My two wild card teams, the first wild card team from the East will be the Philadelphia Eagles, and the last wild card team will be from the NFC South, and it'll be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In the AFC wild card round, that leads to me having the Baltimore Ravens coming in as the 6th seed, facing off with the number 3 seed, the Houston Texans, and the New York Jets traveling as the 5 seed to the Oakland Raiders as the number 4 seed. I think Baltimore is a more balanced, complete team than Houston is. While Houston has a high-powered offense, I'm still not very sold on their defense. And I think Baltimore plays the style of football that is necessary most years in the NFL to have success in the playoffs. So I would have the Ravens moving on, and Jets versus Oakland. The Jets would just overwhelm the Raiders with their talent on both sides of the ball, in particular the Jets defense. And again, the Jets are another team that is built very, very well for postseason success. On the NFC side, I have Tampa Bay as the 6th seed traveling to the New Meadowlands to take on the 3rd seeded New York Giants. And I have the Philadelphia Eagles as the 5th seed traveling to the Edward Jones Dome to face the St. Louis Rams. I think Tampa's a good team. I don't think they're quite ready for prime time just yet. So I would take the New York Giants. And even though the St. Louis, I think, does win their division and does make the playoffs and continues to progress as an organization, by that time the Eagles would just be too much for them to handle, so I would take the Eagles to win. So as you can see on the AFC side, I would have both wild card teams advancing, so there would definitely be some upsets, at least in that opening round of the playoffs. The divisional round comes around, I'd have Baltimore as the 6th seed traveling to New England, who I expect to be the number 1 overall seed on the AFC side, and the New York Jets as the 5 seed traveling to the Steel City to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers as the 2 seed. Ultimately, I think the Patriots over the past few seasons have been a team that has had a lot of regular season success and playoff time, and not so much. I'm still not sold on this recent formula of the Patriots of being that bombs away 50 times a game strategy, and they're kind of bend but don't break defensive philosophy they've seemed to incorporate. Ultimately, the Patriots have struggled in recent years against teams that are more physical than them, and I think the Baltimore Ravens are a more physical ball club. And even with Baltimore having to travel to Gillette Stadium, to Foxborough, to take on this Patriots team in the playoffs, I expect the Baltimore Ravens to be victorious and move on to the AFC Championship game. And then you get to the Jets versus Steelers, an old school type of physical matchup. It's very hard for a team that loses the Super Bowl to come back the following year and enjoy a lot of success. So if for no other reason than the fact that traditionally the Super Bowl loser has not come back in recent years and done very well, the Cardinals making the playoffs in 2009 was the last time I can remember in recent memory that the Super Bowl losers had a really good year the year after. I'm going to take the New York Jets in part because they seem to be a team that is tailor-made for success in the playoffs, as you could see evident by their 2 straight AFC Championship game appearances. On the NFC side, I have the Philadelphia Eagles as the 5 seed traveling to Atlanta to take on the top overall seed, on the NFC side, the Atlanta Falcons, and I have the New York Giants taking the trip to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field to face the defending Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers. Philly and Atlanta would be a hell of a game in the divisional playoff. Make no mistake about that. And that's probably a game that it's based off of your perspective as to who you think would win. If you buy more into the big names that the Eagles added and the flash of a team, the Eagles are who you would choose. I'm going to go with the continuity and the unity of that team and the experience together. And I just think Atlanta can score just about as well on offense as Philadelphia can. And I think Atlanta's defense would step up at least a little bit. But the ultimate determining factor to me would be that the Atlanta Falcons would do better in goal line and short yardage situations and in the fourth quarter be able to run the clock out with Michael the Burner Turner. And I don't think that's something that Philadelphia at this moment is capable of doing. So I will take the Atlanta Falcons. And in the other game, I know I'm a little bit higher on the Giants than most other people around the country are, but this is where the road stops for them. The Packers are the defending Super Bowl champs, and at this moment look like a team that could very well have a great chance to repeat. So I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers at home, getting a little bit of revenge for that organization for the loss in the 2007 NFC Championship game. So in the AFC Championship game, I have the Baltimore Ravens traveling to the New Meadowlands to take on the New York Jets. This would be a game that would be very physical, probably a lower scoring affair with great defense being played and very good running games on display. What do I ultimately think would be the difference? Maybe a combination of home field advantage and more so the experience of the Jets having been to 2 straight AFC Championship games, I ultimately think would be the deciding factor. And while Flacco on the surface is a better quarterback than Mark Sanchez, Sanchez at times does have that flair, that ability to make that big play. And I do think he would step up and, if nothing else, even if he wasn't great, make 1 or 2 plays at the right time, and that would lead to the Jets making their way to Super Bowl 46. On the NFC side, I have the Green Bay Packers traveling to Atlanta to take on the top-seeded Falcons. For any Falcon fan, they remember the 48-21 drubbing of last year's divisional round in Atlanta. So there would definitely be revenge on the mind. This would be a great game. I would look forward to it very much, a matchup of 2 marquee quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan. It's very hard for a team to repeat. I know the Patriots did it, and before that, the Broncos and the Cowboys before that. But in general, you don't see a ton of repeats in recent NFL history. The reason being, with the salary cap, with the free agency system, with the parity that is kind of imposed on the league, it's very, very hard to repeat. And ultimately, am I buying into the Falcons just because they drafted Julio Jones? No. I just think that this could perhaps be Atlanta's year to get over that hump in the playoffs and make their way to the Super Bowl. So give me the Atlanta Falcons to beat the Green Bay Packers and move on to Super Bowl 46. So my prediction for Super Bowl 46 is that the New York Jets will represent the AFC and the Atlanta Falcons will represent the NFC. How do I think this game would go down? You'd have 2 teams with quarterbacks making their first appearance in the big game, 2 coaches making their first appearance in the big game. So experience would kind of in general be a wash, even though a slight overall playoff experience edge would go to the Jets. When I look at it on paper, the Falcons have a much better offense than the Jets do. But then on the same token, the Jets have a much better defense than the Falcons do. So it's just a matter, I guess, at this time, since it's so early on, what do I ultimately think matters more, offense or defense? And in the big game, typically defense wins out. The New York Jets should be able to run the ball well. They should be able to play very stingy defense against the Atlanta Falcons offense, as good as it is. And ultimately, again, I think Mark Sanchez would make 1 or 2 big plays at the right time. You heard it here. I can't believe I'm saying it. I don't even know if I want to say it. But the bottom line is, I will pick the New York Jets to hoist the Lombardi Trophy and win Super Bowl 46. And I will say your Super Bowl MVP will be Mark Sanchez. Let me know down below what your thoughts and predictions are for the 2011 NFL season. And make sure you subscribe up above if you haven't done so already. I am the Schleg Daddy from the Wedge Busters, and we'll see you later.